Hi students. In the last lesson we had a general discussion about the vocabulary part that we took in Unit 3 and Unit 4. Now in this lesson we are going to focus on Unit 3, which was our unit was about what will they think of next, that was related to the future in general. And we are going to specifically look at the grammar and the form, meaning and function lessons that we took. Now the parts that we took in the lesson, we had the future perfect, we had also the future perfect progressive, we had the dependent time clauses, we had the simple present tense, and we have the information questions, the simple present of the verb be and information questions, also the simple past with the same questions. We have here the simple past with irregular and irregular verbs and words connected with space and planetary system. So all of these details that we have here, they are the parts that we took in the grammar and the form, meaning and function that is in Unit 3. Now we're going to just take a general look at it. So we're going to start. We have the first part, which is the grammar. Now what did we do? So since the unit was about the future in general, we have here the grammar was also related to the future. We have here, we studied different structures indicating the future. We formed sentences that indicate the future by using either the future perfect simple or the future perfect progressive. So in the last unit, we discussed the simple perfect, and we have here also the perfect progressive. We related using the two verbs, which are has and have, the perfect tense, and we used one time the past participle and the other time we used the verb ing part. Now we're going to do the same thing here, but since we have the word future, we're going to just add the future part in it using the verb will. And also we have here the future simple, the regular one, using will plus the base form. We have here be going to plus the base form, and we're going to see or just remind you of the time clauses that we discussed. Now do you remember here the sentences that we had? We had the first one, which is by the end of the month, Ahmed himself will have moved to a new house. And the second one, by the time Ahmed moves in his amazing house, they will have accomplished the project. Now, in the two first examples, you can see that we have will, and then we have, and then we have the verb, which is the past participle. You can see that we have here moved, and also we have accomplished. Note that Ahmed is singular, and we have here they is plural, and both of them use the same helping verb, which is have. So when you are using the future, just remember that it is different from the present. There is no has. You're just going to focus on using have with either the simple or the progressive. In the second part, we have here when you arrive, the AC will have been cooling the entire house, and when you get there, the oven will have been heating. You can see that we have here also will, have, but this time we have here been, and we have here the verb with ing. So if you can remember here the timelines that we took, we said if you have two verbs or two actions, they are in the future, one happened before the other, you are going to use the future perfect simple. If you are focusing on the time, or if you have a verb that started in the past and is going to continue to the future, you can use the future perfect progressive. In general, if you are focusing on the action, you're going to use the simple. If you are focusing on the time, you are going to use the progressive part. Yes. Now also, there are some examples that we have here, but I want you just to see the phrases that we have. We have here when, after, since, before, until. These are time phrases that connect the ideas or the clauses together, and of course using the future perfect. Now we're going to apply using exercises. Of course we have here a whole summary that we discussed before, just to remind you of it. We're going to start with something very simple. Now just to get you into the mood of the clauses or the two ideas part, read the sentences, label the first event and the second event. So the first event, we're going to put the red line, and the second event, we're going to have the green line. Now you are going to just read the sentences, and then you are going to decide which one happened before the other. Now they have the first one. I will have finished my dessert by the time the waiter gets me my coffee. So what will happen first? Finishing the dessert or the waiter bringing the coffee? I will have finished my dessert. So we can see that the first one, the first action is going to be finishing the dessert, and the second one, the waiter gets me my coffee. And note that this is something that will happen in the future. How do I know? Because I have here, I will have finished. The second one, by the time they find a cure for cancer, many patients will have died. Now, by the time they will find a cure for cancer, many patients will have died. So, la samah Allah, we have here, what will happen first? The death of patients or finding the cure? So we can see that, first of all, yes, the patients, and then after that, the cure for cancer. Number 3, by 2024, they will have been teaching, he will have been teaching for 40 years. What will happen first? Year 2024 or him accomplishing 40 years of studying or teaching, So we can see that the first one is going to be will have been teaching, and the second one is the year. Number 4, our grandchildren will have grown up by the time people start living on the moon. What will happen first? Our grandchildren growing up or people living on the moon? So you can see from here, our children will have grown up. So we have here, this is going to be the first, and then the second, people living on the moon. Now this is something just to remind you that you have here 2 ideas, you have 2 clauses, and these clauses, they are related to each other by using time phrases. And to note that the time phrase here, it can come in the middle or at the beginning. So like number 1, we have here the time phrase by the time, it came in the middle. But in number 2, it came at the beginning of the sentence, and we added the comma. Let's do the other one. Now here we have the sentence. We're going to correct the verb that is in brackets. Of course, we are going to use the future perfect, and we're going to decide, is it the simple or the progressive part? Now, like the first one, they release a new model by the time I'm ready to get one. What do you think the focus is on? Is it on the action or on the time? So there is no time mentioned, which means that I will use the future perfect simple, using future will, perfect have, and the simple, which means that I have the past participle. So I have here the sentence, they will have released. The second one, by the time the baby can walk, he turned 1 year old. Also action. So here, he will have past participle turned. And then we have, by the time I have enough money saved, the price of houses go up. The price, also there is no time mentioned. We have here the prices will have, and the past participle of go, went, gone. Will have gone. After that, I work for 3 hours by the time you are ready to help. Note that we have here this time for 3 hours. There is time. So I'm going to use this time, the future perfect progressive. I will have, and because I want the progressive, which is ing, I have to have been in the sentence, and then we have the verb ing, which is going to be work. So our answer will have been working. The last one, by the time the pie is ready, our dinner guests go home. So we have here our dinner guests will have gone home. Moving on. Now you can see here is the same thing. We have here by the time we arrive, she will have been waiting for over an hour. So here, why did I use a progressive? Because over an hour. The second one, the movie will have ended. I will have finished. DVD players become obsolete by 2025. So we have here, there is a time. I'm going to change and use will have become. Okay, we have here, yes, okay, so there's no for instance. Yes, the one after that. They live in Oman for 3 years. So because we have here for 3 years, this time I'm going to use the progressive and use will have been living. Yes, moving on. Now, complete the sentences with the correct time phrase. We have here when, before, after, while, until, or since. Now, we're going to use here the sentence. Just take a look and read. We have here the sentences. Now, we're going to just add the time phrase in the blank. They will stop charging so much money to use the beach. The summer is over. Now note here that sometimes more than one answer is possible. So just take a look. You can say they will stop charging so much money to use the beach. Summer is over. We can use either when the summer is over. You can also say after the summer is over. And you can also use since the summer is over. So they will stop charging so much money since, after, or when the summer is over. After that, we have a number 2. Blank, they come out with a new cell phone. I will buy one. So you're waiting to buy a cell phone. What can you use from the time phrases that we have here? We can say when they come out with a new cell phone. He will earn a lot of money. He is smart and hardworking. So mashallah, we have here smart and hardworking. So we have since he is smart, he will earn a lot of money. The child will fall asleep. Her mother reads to her. So the mother is going to start reading and then the child falls asleep. We can use here 2 parts, 2 examples. You can use the phrase either while, or you can say after. Medicine will continue advancing. Blank, they found cures for everything. So medicine will continue advancing. They're waiting. We can say here until they found or they have found cures for everything. Now the last part, I buy a new computer. I will do research to be sure I'm getting the best one. You're still planning to buy the computer. You can use either from the phrases that we have, either before, or you can use when. So again, just to make sure that you are on track with me, we have here the phrases that we have used. There are choices. You can choose to use this phrase. If you have chosen to use another one, it's okay. So as long as the sentence has the correct meaning, you're fine. Yes, we have here after that. Complete the sentences, use the future with dependent time clauses, the future perfect or the future perfect progressive. So it depends on the meaning. Now note here that these sentences, they all end here with commas. So we're just going to complete with them. By next month, you are free. You can choose whatever example you want. So I'm going to give you my examples. We can say, for example, by next month, we will have finished the semester. We will have redone the house. We will have traveled to Mecca. All of these are correct. By the time this class ends, my teacher will have taken the attendance, for example. By the time this class ends, I will have done the exercises. I will use this book until we finish the semester. And here, just to note that we have here, we finished the semester, it's correct, but we are asked to use the future perfect. So that's why I'm going to change here and just use by the time, or I will use this book until we will have finished the semester. And we have here by 2022. Also, we can choose here and say the new project will have started. So note that all of them are the same example, the same way that we applied the perfect, either progressive or simple. Now we have here, this is going to be our new exercise. We have here use the future perfect or the future perfect progressive to complete each sentence. In some cases, both forms are possible. So this is going to be the last part or the last exercise for our grammar part. But we have here, you have to defer when to use or when can you use both structures and when can you use just one. Now, for example, we have the first one. We have already driven 150 kilometers. If we drive another 50 kilometers, what's going to happen? We're going to apply, first of all, the future perfect, and you are going to decide, can you use both or not? So the first one, there's no mention of time, which means that I'm going to just use the future perfect simple. We have here, we will have driven 200 kilometers. The second one, we have here, Ahmed moved to Riyadh in 2005. By 2023, he... Now there is a time mentioned here, so I can use both structures. I can say either he will have been living in Riyadh for 15 years, or I can say he will have lived in Riyadh for 15 years. Either this or this, it's all okay. The second one, we have after that number 3. Bill has been working at the same company for 9 years. By next year, also there is time mentioned. So by next year, he will have been working there for 10 years. Or we can say he will have worked there for 10 years. It's okay, either this one or this one. So you just have to focus on what do you have in the original sentence. And then the last one we have here, Fahad has been studying for 3 hours. It's 9 o'clock p.m. We have here by 11 p.m. he will have been studying for 5 hours. So we have here, these are our examples in the first part, which is the grammar. Now we have here the form, meaning, and function part that we have here. We are going to see what we took. Now we discussed the past, the simple past. We also discussed the present simple. We have here also just a revision and see what we have. What did we take in the present simple? Now the present simple, we said that is something that happens all the time. And you can see that we have here the pronouns for the singular and plural. We have here does and do is used also in negatives and in questions, as we discussed. We have here the verb plus s for the affirmative, and we have here just the base form for the plural. And of course, we said that we can use exclamations. Now, we're going to see what is the relation here. We are going to relate using questions. Now, do you remember when we talked about using yes-no questions or to form WH questions? So let's start with the questions, the yes-no questions at first. Let's just write the sentence. Nature refreshes the environment. If I want to turn this one into a yes-no question, do you remember what did we do? We just looked at the sentence. We have here nature refreshes, there is an S, the environment, and we have here nature is singular. So that's why we have here the verb does at the beginning. And when you put does here at the beginning, you just take out, we have here the ES, and you add the question mark. You can answer, we have here yes it does, and of course yes it does. But in other cases, you can also answer no it doesn't. Now, we have here, make each statement a yes-no question, then give a short answer. We have the first one, my parents both speak English. This is a positive sentence. So we have here, we're going to ask a question. Parents is plural. We're going to ask, do your parents both speak English? Because we have here parents. And we have the answer is going to be yes, they do. The hotel doesn't have its own website. There is doesn't, there is a negative. And we have just one hotel here. So the helping verb at the beginning is going to be does the hotel have its own website? And because of the negative, the answer is going to be no, it doesn't. My brother and I don't go to the same school. We have here me and my brother, so we are plural. The question is going to be, do you and your brother go to the same school? And the answer is no, we don't, because we have our negative. Completing. The restaurant offers a free Wi-Fi connection. So we have here one restaurant and offers with an S. So we have here does the restaurant offer a free Wi-Fi connection? And the answer is going to be yes, it does. I usually communicate with my friends by email. So we have here, do you usually communicate with your friends by email? And the answer is yes, I do. Now, moving on, we discussed the the past simple. And instead of using does and do, we have here did is going to be used. Also, there is a connection between the past and we have here, you have to note that we have regular verbs and irregular verbs when you change from the past to the present, or vice versa also. Now, the last part that we are going to discuss, which is going to be the question words. Now, do you remember when we discussed the question words? We have here why, where, who, how, when, which. All of these are question words, and simply you are going to relate between the answer and what do you have here. Now, do you remember when we talked about these examples? We have here where are you, what are you interested in, what is the sun, what are galaxies, what are we not able to see, and so on. Also, we have here answer the questions. Of course, you are going to answer spontaneously. Where are you, or where were you born? Where did you grow up? Why did you take the decision to study English? So all of these are main questions. But what we are concerned about is the opposite, which is how to make the question. So we are going to move on and see how to make questions using either the simple past or the simple present. Now, just to remind you here of the ones that we discussed. So let's start with this simple exercise. The answers, it's Aboud. He's here for the online conference. We're from Dubai. Fine, thanks. That's my aunt, and it's in June. So the first one, how is it going? Someone is asking you, how are you? How is it going? You're going to answer. We have here, D. When's your graduation? I'm asking you, when is your graduation? So what is going to apply here? We have here, the suitable is going to be F, which is it's in June. What's your last name? I'm asking about a name. What is your last name? Which is it's Aboud. Why is Mr. Jones here? So I saw Mr. Jones. Why? Why is he here? He's here for the online conference. B. Where's your family from? Where is the family from? We have here, we're going to say from, or we're from Dubai. And who's that woman over there? That's my aunt. So actually here the answers are very easy, but we applied them very quickly because the beginning of the sentence tells us what do we have. We have here either a place, we're asking about a person, we are asking about a time. So here it's different from one thing to another. Now the basic structure that we discussed, you're going to put, of course, the question word. We have here the auxiliary verbs, and you can use a lot of auxiliary verbs here after the question word. We have here also the subject, the main verb after that, and our completion for the sentence. So we are going to start making WH questions, and this time I'm going to underline the part that I want, and we're going to form the questions together. So let's start. We have here, now Sarah writes stories. We have here short stories. And the second one, they live in the same house. We have here, I'm going to ask about this one. I enjoyed the movie. This one. I met Al-Jahra. Now let's start. The first one. Sarah writes short stories. I'm asking about a thing. So here, how do you use or begin the sentence? We have here, what? And then we have Sarah writes, there's an S, which makes the helping verb that is used. We have here, let's just erase. We have here, oh, sorry. Yes, going back. So we have here, does. So what does? Sarah. And then we have here, writes is going to turn into write, question mark. They live in the same house. I'm asking about this time in the same house, which is going to be a place. We have here where. They is plural, which makes us use do. Where do they? And then we have here live, and of course there is nothing. Befspor. I enjoyed the movie. We have here the movie is a thing. We have here what? And then there's an ed, which makes me choose the helping verb did. what did, and then the pronoun changes into you, and then we have here enjoy, question mark. I met Jahara yesterday. I'm asking about yesterday. We have here the beginning of the sentence is going to be when, and also met is in the past, which makes it did. Pronoun I changes into you, turning it into meet, and then we have here the rest al Jahara. So I asked one time using what, where, and we have here also when. And here I made the choices depending on what I'm going to ask about or what is the underlined part. Now the last part that we have here, yes. Now here, these examples are different from the first. Why? Because here you can see that we have the first one, my mother might travel to Mecca. We are studying English. I was sleeping when you called last night. They will take the exam next week. Ahmed is thinking about the job offer. So the difference between these examples and the ones before, of course, I'm not going to use do, does, or did, because these examples, they already have helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. So we have here the auxiliary verbs that we have might. Now we can say that where might your mother travel to? What are you studying? We can say, for example, what were you doing? Or when were you sleeping? We have here they will take the exam. When will they take? And we have the last one, Ahmed is thinking about the job offer. What is Ahmed thinking about? So here, if you have a helping verb or an auxiliary verb, it is a direct verb that you can just apply in the same question. Yes, now the last part that we have here in the form, meaning, and function was the words that we discussed about connected to space, and we have here the planetary system. So all of these words that we have here, now we apply them in sentences. You can also apply them in other examples. They are actually for a meaning vocabulary part that we have here, which is related to space, related to do you remember Mr. Mooney and what did we talk about? Astronauts and the projects that we have here in space. So we have here, these are the words that are related to space in general that you can apply within your sentences. So at the end of our lesson we have here, yes, we did discuss the future perfect. We also had focus on the future perfect progressive, and we used the dependent time clauses. We had also a look at the simple present tense. We formed information questions. We also used the simple present and the simple past in our questions. We had the simple past with regular and irregular verbs, the discussion about it. And we had the look just on the words that were connected to space. So this is the part that we have here in the unit, which is the grammar and form, meaning, and function. Now tomorrow, inshallah, we are going to have the same look. We are going to focus on the grammar and the form, meaning, and function in Unit 4. So be ready.